Good afternoon. It's a golden era for technology. And by the way, it's a golden era for women in technology. We need more women in technology in general. I've been in the industry about 30+ years, and I've never seen a time where tech is as relevant to the core and heart of every business than ever before. Technology provides massive opportunities for enterprises to transform, but creates challenges as well. There's a natural tension between the choices that technology provides, right, and the complexities that we have to deal with as we bring in new waves of technology. And this can overwhelm us if you're not careful. So as technologists, what do we have to do? We create the choice in the first place, but yet we also have to manage all the diversity and make it all work. So while all of this is happening, CIOs have now become the center of companies driving digital transformation. And digital transformation is the same as business transformation. So it's no wonder that 4 out of 5 CIOs believe that the role of the CIO is much more important than ever before. No surprise. So what are CIOs being asked to deliver? When we talk to customers, we hear consistently that IT is tasked with driving revenue growth, number one, customer satisfaction and retention, protecting the brand integrity, resiliency, and finally, empowering employees, employee engagement, employee retention, employee productivity. These are all top of mind for every company. But often, the rest of the business doesn't really know what it takes to make all of this stuff happen. They just assume, they want their apps to work, they want everything to be up, and they just want everything to be easy to use. So who's going to go make all of this stuff work? Who's going to go build, run, manage, connect, and secure every one of these business assets? The answer is really, of course, you and we all as technologists. Our own CIO, Baskaya, likes to say, you have to be the visionary and drive the transformation inside your companies. But at the same time, you have to make sure that your Wi-Fi is working. You have to keep the lights on. So the job of a CIO has, of course, become a lot more complex than ever before. I'd like to spend the rest of my time talking about how we as an industry and as technology leaders can address the current day challenges here so that we deliver for today, prepare for tomorrow. So applications are everywhere and driving businesses and become the heartblood of the business. What do CIOs care about? CIOs care about these 3 major superpowers: cloud, mobility, and security. These are major superpowers if we can harness them properly to get the flexibility we need, but not be overwhelmed by the inherent complexity that comes with choice. So let's start with the cloud. You walk over here. So we live in a complex world. The cloud world is complex. It's got a lot of diversity built in. You've got applications, you've got infrastructure, you've got cloud services, and you've got operations on top. All of these are diverse. Apps are exploding. There's about 300 million apps today in the world. And by 2024, we're probably going to have something like 800 million. There's an app for everything, pretty much, these days. Not just increasing volumes of applications, but also a much broader set of applications that need to be managed, secured, delivered. You've got your traditional applications that you need to manage, run efficiently, figure out how to optimize costs, and deliver the performance that your business needs. At the same time, your lines of businesses and your application developers are building modern applications. These are running in cloud-native environments. Kubernetes is hot. People are building new apps with microservices, making use of new architectures. Great new capabilities, but also a lot more complexities. Most of us will be dealing with a combination of all of these apps when it comes to what we have in our enterprises. So we have increasingly diverse options in terms of where we deploy and run these applications as well. You can run your applications on your on-prem data center. You can run them in the public clouds. And increasingly now, these days, you're starting to see applications run in the edge. And sometimes, a single application can be run across all of these environments. Let's take an example. You're a modern shoe company. And what you do these days is a customer can go to one of your retail stores and custom order and custom design a shoe. By the way, Adidas did one for me recently. And the way this app works is you got the app running in a public cloud. You take measurements at the local store and you do some local processing. Goes back into the cloud. And once you have the order ready, you use your enterprise ERP system that's running in your on-prem data centers, and you place the order with your supplier. This is what a modern app looks like. It's running everywhere, in the cloud, in the edge, and of course, in the data center. And you have to stitch it all together. As you look at these new applications, you also can make use of a rich set of cloud services that are coming to bear here, being offered by all the major cloud providers. These cloud services are going to bring in lots of value into existing applications, but also enable new applications to be built very, very quickly. For example, machine learning and AI. You can go to the cloud, get a whole range of services, data services. And of course, with all of this comes data privacy, data governance. Where should your data reside? So AI and ML in particular are fairly early in their deployments. But you've seen other panels talk about the rise of machine learning and what that means to society overall. But this is, I think, exploding. We're starting to use machine learning almost in everything we do. Now, all of this stuff has to be managed. All of this stuff has to be operationalized. And increasingly, you're looking at a whole bunch of special tools, special skill sets, and different teams being trained to do all of this. Not an easy task for any company. So let me ask you, in this complex world, is this good? Is this bad? Is all of this innovation helping, or is this hurting? Is this chaos, or is this opportunity? Does the complexity of today's cloud options, provide new potential, or make it more complicated for us? Does it hold the potential to position us and empower us and inspire us? I think it can inspire and empower us if we manage it correctly. So many companies today are operating across multiple cloud environments. The average enterprise today runs applications in up to 5 clouds. But every one of these environments is different. You've got different operational processes, so operational inconsistencies. You've got different skill sets that your people need to operate across every one of these clouds, different management and security controls, inconsistent application service-level agreements, and incompatible hardware and technology formats, all of which, again, add complexity. So how do we go play in this game? We must build for a unified cloud approach. Now, that doesn't mean you're only using a single cloud. You want to use the cloud that's right for your application. But we do need a consistent way to run these applications across all these clouds and operate the infrastructure. So consistent infrastructure allows applications to be run across multiple cloud environments without requiring application refactoring or application replatforming. This can be a pretty expensive task. One of our customers, for example, did a calculation of what it would cost to refactor a single application going from their on-prem environment, running natively in a cloud environment. And their estimate was it would take them $1 million to rewrite that app. Obviously, you can't do that to the hundreds and thousands of apps that are sitting out there in the enterprise. So you want to have an infrastructure that allows application portability and the ability for you to choose which cloud you want to run your application without having to make changes to those applications. At the same time, you also want to have a way to consistently operate across every one of these clouds. Right? Consistent service-level agreements to your customers, consistent visibility across all of these clouds, consistent cost management, consistent security policies. So really, that's the key to succeeding in this multi-cloud world. So while complexity might be daunting, those companies and technologists that can master this multi-cloud approach, they're going to own the next decade in cloud computing. So let's move on to the next topic, which is mobility. So connected mobile devices are exploding. Today, by the way, there's about 4 mobile devices per person, and people estimate that by 2025, we're going to have about 9 devices per person, of course, all of which are going to be connected. The other thing that's happening in the workforce is in about 5 years from now, 75% of the workforce are going to be millennials. Young people that I look forward to working with in my environment, but they challenge us in many different ways. These millennials want to work anywhere. They want to work remotely. They expect stuff to be delivered to them wherever they are. And most importantly, they come into the workplace expecting a consumer-like experience. They're used to consumer technology. They want similar or better technology to be available in the enterprises when they come to work. So attracting, retaining, and engaging this talent becomes a very critical priority for the enterprise. So what are the top 5 IT requirements when it comes to mobility? At the top of the list really is all about the user experience and user empowerment. So you've got to engage your employees. You have to make them productive. That's critical to retaining the talent. You have to be able to deliver applications anytime, anywhere, on any device. You're going to see a whole range of devices that people bring into the workplace. You're going to have your iOS phones, Android phones, MacBooks, PCs, Chromebooks, you name it. And you've got to deliver and manage all of this in a consistent way. Managing those devices, these are all bring your own devices in many cases. Yet, you need to manage those devices, make sure your enterprise applications and data are protected and secure. And of course, you have to manage the user experience. While you do this, the user experience still needs to be simple and consumer-like. And finally, all of this stuff has to be automated. If you want to run this at scale across thousands of users in your environment, in your companies, everything here has to be automated and scaled. So if you look at your environment today, I'm sure you have employees using different devices and different operating systems. Each has an app store. Each has their own update process. Each has their own set of services. And these are all silos. Much like we had silos in the cloud, you have silos when it comes to your devices that are used in the enterprise. And the only way you're going to succeed here is if you can abstract across all of these silos and create some level of consistency, both in terms of your ability to provide user experience, as well as in your own ability to manage all of this complexity. So the same kind of complexity here. You've got complexity on one side and choice, but you want to provide a consistent experience on the other side. So this is what you need, right? You need to have a consistent experience, but deal with heterogeneity, manage your costs, and provide security, all at the same time. And the only way you can do that is, again, by creating some sort of a unified intelligence-driven platform that works across and abstracts across every one of these different devices and provides that rich employee experience that everybody wants, okay? Provides cloud-based modern management to be able to manage all of these different devices at scale, right? Abstracts out each of these individual devices, provides the insights needed for enterprise administrators to go manage and secure the environment, and of course, delivers all of this with automation. This is, again, the way you get around these silos and make use of virtualization technology to really create an empowering engagement for employees. So the last big piece that I want to talk about here is security. Probably top of mind for most CIOs and CISOs. Why so? If you look at IT spend today, technology IT spend is growing at about roughly, call it 5% per year. A reasonable, healthy rate, growing at slightly above GDP generally. But if you look at how much we are spending on security, we are spending our budgets are increasing at about 10% per year. So we spend more and more. We're spending at twice the rate that we're spending on the rest of IT on security. Yet, what's happening to these attacks? The damage from attacks continues to escalate. This is an asymmetric battle. If you think about this, what's really happening? The attackers are trying new techniques every day. And they only have to win once for them to succeed and get your data and your precious assets. The defenders have to succeed every single time. If you make a mistake once, it's over, game over. So this is a very asymmetric battle. It's a tough battle to fight. Now, our most valuable assets are our applications and our data. What do they run on? Well, they run on workloads. They communicate across networks. They run on public clouds, private clouds inside your data centers. They run on endpoints that are accessed by users. This is what you're trying to protect. Now, the way you protect them today is by using this massive set of security controls. The average organization uses about 60 to 100 different security products. When I show this slide to my customers, some of them say, hey, you know, I think I use every product on this list. Every product. This is as much a part of the problem as it is the solution. So how do we do with this, right? We have different security products for every point in that chart that I just showed. Different products for endpoints, different products for workloads, servers, different products for user machines, and for identity and in the public cloud. These are all very bolted-on products with a whole bunch of agents and appliances that you have to deploy, each with its own consoles, each with its own policy sets. And if you end up misconfiguring or misaligning across some of these controls, that's what happens in 90% of the breaches today. And you've seen some very big ones recently. It's also super reactive in terms of how we do. Imagine, would you want to focus all your healthcare on emergency rooms? That would be a total disaster, right? You want to focus on preventive care. But what's happening in security? Most of the money is actually spent on reacting. And that's part of the challenge. Now, while we're doing this and doing everything in silos, the attackers are not thinking in silos. The attacker starts compromising perhaps a user identity, gets into a device, and from there accesses a workload, spreads across the network, and soon they're everywhere in the data center and they've gotten all your assets. So the attackers aren't thinking the way the security folks are. So security needs to be transformed. What are the challenges today? Well, today, most of the security is bolted on. What do? We build an infrastructure where the applications are running, and then we hand it off to the security teams and say, go secure them. And those poor security folks go off and bolt on a bunch of these security products, 50 to 100 of these, and try to secure it. The second thing is most security dollars, as I said before, are being spent on reacting to events after they happen. You've got an attack that's happened. I want to detect that signature. And then I want to prevent that attack from happening. But those dollars are spent on an attack that happened in the past. The attacker is going to change their stripes and not do the same thing again. They're going to try something different. So again, the reactive model doesn't quite work, right? Reverse engineering the attacks of the past versus trying to protect what's going to happen in the future. And then you've got these silos, right? Endpoint, network, workload, cloud, all of these operating completely differently and independently of each other. Think about it like if you had airplanes and an air traffic control system where everybody spoke different languages and didn't communicate with each other. That would be a disaster for the airline industry. We need a common language here across all of these silos. So where do we go with security? Well, this is where we need to go. Security needs to be built into the infrastructure. It turns out that the infrastructure, especially the virtualization layer, has a lot of awareness of what's running on it. Imagine the analogy is you're living in a house, and you know what happens inside your house much better than an attacker ever knows. If you see a light come on in your kitchen at 2 a.m. in the morning, you probably think, yeah, that's abnormal. Right? That's probably an attack. And so the infrastructure folks actually understand the applications that are running in the infrastructure, and therefore, you can absolutely figure out what's good and what's out of the norm. That's very powerful, and you can use that to secure and lock down things. And it's better to lock down what you know than trying to go after the unknown. Right? So if you know that this is what's happening inside your infrastructure, well, lock it down. Don't allow anything bad to happen over there. Right? That's the built-in model. The proactive model, right, moving from a proactive to reactive to a proactive model is exactly that too, which is understand what's going on, understand the known good, and focus on the known good versus going after everything that's bad. The analogy I'll make here is, if you were to use, for example, machine learning to go hit a golf ball, many of us play golf, versus trying to hit, say, a tennis ball. The golf ball is static. It's sitting there. That's your application. You know what it's supposed to do, and you've got to go figure out how to hit it. If you're trying to hit a tennis ball, on the other hand, it's always changing. The attackers are always changing, and it's much more difficult. You've got different rate, different pace, different spins that you have to handle. It's a much more difficult problem to tackle. So in general, you can be much more successful when a problem is known rather than going after unknown problems. The last bit, of course, is that you have to get rid of those silos, and you have to have aligned policies, a common language where all of these different pieces of the infrastructure talk to each other and have a consistent security policy that you can then protect your applications and your data. So you can do this, like I said, using components of the infrastructure. You deliver your applications on any cloud, on any device, and then you secure it using the assets that are already deployed. All these different teams have to work together to make this happen. But if we can do this, the results can be powerful, and you have a chance of reversing that trend that we saw in the very first slide, where security spend continues to go up exponentially, and our effectiveness at deterring attacks hasn't. You can completely reverse that equation. So, as technologists, and we look at these different three big superpowers of cloud, mobility, and security, how do we get all of this right? How do we get that flexibility that we want from a business perspective without getting overwhelmed by the complexity? Well, for the cloud, it's about creating consistent infrastructure and consistent operations across all of these clouds so that you can make the best and use every cloud that's available to you and make the best cloud, use the best cloud for the best application as you need. For mobility, it's about driving employee engagement, empowering employees, providing them a consumer-like experience, but with enterprise-grade controls. For security, it's about delivering that unified security concept, get ahead of the attacks, focus on prevention, focus on building it into the infrastructure, and focus on aligning everything across different silos. I believe this is the golden age of technology, and the future is bright. There truly has never been a more exciting time, and perhaps a more important time to be a technologist. Thank you.